المنصات الرقمية تعليقات وخطابات تروج لأفكار معادية للمسلمين، وغالبا ما يتم تجاهلها أو التقليل من شأنها. وهنا نطرح سؤالا: كيف لهذه الخوارزميات أن تعيد إنتاج هذه التحيزات؟ ونجد أن الإجابة من خلال تدريب أنظمة الذكاء الاصطناعي على قواعد بيانات ضخمة تستمد من الإنترنت، وهي تحتوي بطبيعتها على صور نمطية وتمثيلات منحازة. وبدلا من تصحيح هذه الصور تقوم الأنظمة بإعادة إنتاجها بصورة آلية. فعلى سبيل المثال، عندما تستخدم نماذج الذكاء الاصطناعي في تصنيف الصور أو تحليل النصوص، قد تربط كلمات مثل إرهاب أو خطر بكلمة مسلم بناء على الترابطات الشائعة في البيانات، لا على أساس منطقي أو موضوعي. ونجد هنا أن تضمين التحيزات ضد الإسلام في الذكاء الاصطناعي تكون كالتالي: البيانات المنحازة التي تعتمد أو هذه الأنظمة أو أنظمة الذكاء الاصطناعي على تدريب هذه البيانات، وإذا كانت هذه البيانات تحتوي على تمثيلات سلبية للمسلمين فإن النموذج سيتبنى هذه الصورة ويعيد إنتاجها. تصنيف المحتوى أيضا قد تصنف الكلمات أو الصور المرتبطة بالإسلام كخطيرة أو مخالفة حتى لو كانت هذه الكلمات طبيعية أو إيجابية. أيضا من هذه التضمينات الاستهداف الإعلاني، فتستخدم بعض المنصات الخوارزميات التي تؤدي إلى استهداف جماعات مسلمة بمحتوى مخصص سلبي أو تمييزي. وهذا يشير إلى أن هذه الأنظمة قد تضخم هذه التحيزات من خلال التكرار والتوسع، من خلال إعادة إنتاج المحتوى وتوصيته بشكل مستمر، وأيضا من خلال تعزيز الرسائل السلبية وتوصيلها.
Time, I think these are the general ideas, and that helps to achieve. There are less positive information and more negative information about that. All of this together are have an impact on radicalism as well as other extremist ideas. Now, these AI tools need to be used in a way to consider the cultural, economic, and traditional aspects of this, and we conclude that the artificial intelligence presents enormous capabilities, but it is not a neutral or natural entity. Without thoughtful and preventive intervention, it could become a tool for reinforcing stereotypical and exclusionary images, contributed to the deepening of injustice and inequality. Hence, there is an urgent need to take effective measures to confront digital Islamophobia in the age of AI. Confronting Islamophobia in media and digital platforms should not be limited to fighting apparent content alone. It must also involve a re-examination of the very structure of intelligence systems. Philosophical, epistemological, and ethical reflections must be encouraged to prevent Islamophobia from creeping into algorithms in ways we do not easily notice. I think it must be clearly also stated that human dignity is a constant and sacred value, whether the person is of one religion or another. Islamophobia is not just about words, but about the structures that produce these words. In the age of digital media and artificial intelligence, we may face a hidden system that promotes hatred and discrimination. And we need digital justice that includes everyone and holds algorithms accountable for their actions. And we see here we need to be careful about this to reduce an opportunity for biased approach against Muslims, not to spread the hatred and hostility about Muslims, and this indicates that systems may apply such deviations through different areas. Thank you.
Presentation, and I like the fact that you have highlighted that the systemic problem behind artificial intelligence is not just merely some content that comes here and there. It's something that is embedded in the program. So I'm sure we will have the opportunity to ask more questions later on. I would like now to call our next speaker. So Mr. Zubair Ansari, media advisor and consultant at QIC News Agencies, please. And he will be speaking on behalf of Mr. Mohammed bin Abd Rabb Waliam.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. يسعدني أن أشارك معكم هنا بالنيابة عن سعادة المدير العام لاتحاد وكالات.
I would like to deliver a speech behind on Mohammed Abdarabi, Atomic Cooperation Organization, and indeed, it's a pleasure to be here. Unfortunately, our representative, the director, could not make it to the event physically himself. Today, it's a pleasure to be here, an honor to be participating in this meeting. We speak about combating Islamophobia in a world, again, witnessing increasing tensions driven by religious and cultural differences. Islamophobia has emerged as one of the most dangerous forms of contemporary hatred. In the first place, I would like to start with a word of appreciation to Mr. Ilham Aliyev, the President of Azerbaijan, and to the entire team that stood behind the organization of this important event. These were very important initiatives. Now, Islamophobia, it's no longer merely an expression of individual fear or suspicion, but has evolved into a complex system of institutional biases, racist rhetoric, and discriminatory legislative policies targeting Muslims, attacking their identity, beliefs, and sacred values. Reports by UN and special rapporteurs, as well as documents from UNESCO and the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights, confirm that Islamophobia constitutes a direct violation of the right to freedom of religion and belief, and of the right to equality in dignity and rights. This calls for a serious and systematic response from international community, one that goes beyond reactionary measures towards building a permanent solution. We see here the significance and we see here the importance of media. The core problem is not only the number of crimes, let's say, or the volume of hostile rhetoric, but the ideological pattern that justifies them, lends them symbolic legitimacy, and embeds them as a normal, quote-unquote, feature of the global landscape. Addressing this pattern requires not only legal criminalization, but also the deconstruction of underlying concepts or reframing of the relationship between religion and the state, as well as between the cultural particularism and universal values. From this standpoint of view, we see here that creating an environment in which followers of all religions coexist in harmony, where diversity is celebrated and the values of justice and equality prevail, requires a shared legislative, cultural, and educational effort. This effort must be inspired by international human rights instruments, activated through pioneering national experiences and aimed at establishing long-term human alliance. We also see here in the Patriotic War of Azerbaijan, we see here also the aspects of the thousands of civilians are being killed in the conflict in Palestine, as well as I think this phenomena, now widely referred to as Islamophobia, manifests itself in various forms. We see here some of the forms in the West. Some of the Western powers, they even try to present this victory of Azerbaijan in different light and connotation. We see here this biased approach. We see it whether it is in a digital domain or elsewhere. And even though that Azerbaijan has liberated its lands from occupation, even though this is the case, some of the media outlets have attempted to present this and present it as an aggression rather than a liberation. And we also see in the Western media outlets, as well as those who are again were supported and backed up by Armenians, they somehow claim that the Azerbaijanis are being accused of the violations and the crimes against Armenians, even though this is not the case. Azerbaijan perceive and receive them as the citizens of Azerbaijan, of this country. And we also see here another claim that was Azerbaijan was using the foreign fighters in the fight against Armenia, even though Azerbaijan has a country which has maintains a superiority of law, and the other media outlets in France and elsewhere attempted to present it differently. In the France 24, for example, on this TV channel, they conducted these smear campaigns. We see here Azerbaijan has fought back against all of these ideas and unsubstantiated claims. When you speak about the country that speaks about human rights so much, you see it in history of France to what extent they have complied with the rhetoric that they have now, uphold now, and look at what has been done by them in the past in terms of the same civil rights that they refer to. Well, it's not only about the professional standards. It's about a phenomenon of the moral values, I believe, and you will see here in the media. You see here these smear campaigns and Islamophobia serves a larger purpose, and another journalist has spoken about the Islamophobia in France, as well as a biased approach against Azerbaijan in the media outlets. So, in that respect, we see here when we look at the French history, the colonial past of this country, we see that the history presents itself differently, and everything is clear when you just deep dive into this, and when you look at the other aspects. You see Azerbaijan as a country developing in terms of economy, in terms of the, again, multicultural values that they uphold, and it's, I think, a clear example when you go on and compare this with France. It's beyond any comparison, in fact, and we see that some countries want to cast some shadow on the good example of Azerbaijan. When it comes to the tragedy happening in front of our eyes in Gaza, we see here again a biased approach from the media outlets. Even though this again is an issue that encompasses, I think, the entire humanity, and there are thousands of civilians that are being killed every day. But even though this is the case, many media outlets try to present it differently and sugarcoat and make sure that the Israeli actions are to be presented again differently. We see here in the Western media outlets, specifically in the Gaza Strip, and the also has an impact. But you need to make sure that there are social, historical, and political reasons for that, and we see the violation of their rights, perhaps for the Western media outlets, is not considered that of a big violation just when it comes to the Muslims. And we see here again we condemn this approach, and we want to reiterate that the media outlets carry this responsibility and need to say the truth regardless of their religion, faith, and other factors. I would like to thank Republic of Azerbaijan Republic for organizing this conference, and I hope it will be successful and it will be helpful to all of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ansari, for this outline. It was very interesting to understand the perspective that you are bringing on behalf of the OIC news agencies. And you have highlighted in your presentation some forms of media bias, which prove a lack of professionalism, lack of ethics, unfortunately, in the profession. And you highlighted how Azerbaijan has been subject to this media bias in the past few decades. So we'll take that in mind, and I'll proceed with the next speaker, Mr. Rufat Hamzayev, and You're going to tell us a little bit from the perspective of the premier English-speaking news outlet, iNews. So the floor is yours.
Shukran jazilan. Thank you very much, Dr. Chirkawi. Dear colleagues, esteemed guests, actually it's an honor to join you today at this significant forum to address a topic that profoundly impacts us all. And Islamophobia, I mean the irrational fear of Islam or Muslims, I think is not merely a social phenomenon. It has become a digitally amplified global challenge. And in today's rapidly evolving media landscape, traditional channels have increasingly given way to digital platforms driven by artificial intelligence. And to better understand this, let's examine key trends and their implications. Firstly, AI algorithms amplify sensationalist and maybe emotionally charged content. A 2024 MIT Technology Review report highlighted that algorithms significantly increase the visibility of inflammatory or misleading narratives, and particularly those related to religious identities. In fact, a 2025 Oxford Internet Institute report revealed that Islamophobic posts on social media unfortunately increased by 32% over the past 2 years, and predominantly driven by algorithmical amplification. Secondly, misinformation spreads rapidly across the globe, embedding biases deeply into online conversations. And algorithmic recommendations often create echo chambers where users repeatedly encounter similar biased content. A recent Pew Research study found that 64% of users primarily see content aligning with their previous interests and significantly limiting exposure to diverse and balanced perspectives. Moreover, social media platforms accelerate the dissemination of Islamophobic content. Platforms like Facebook, X, and YouTube, it's no secret that have repeatedly come under scrutiny for their roles in rapidly spreading hate speech. For instance, a 2023 report by the Council on American Islamic Relations detailed how Facebook's algorithmic prioritization significantly amplified Islamophobic misinformation, especially during geopolitical tensions and geopolitical conflicts. And given these pressing issues, most probably responsible media practices become crucial. For instance, at A-News, we actively engage with these challenges and responsibly, let's say, utilize AI by deploying misinformation detection tools and continuously refining our editorial algorithms. So historically, Muslim majority countries, and including Azerbaijan, frequently face stereotypical portrayals as inherently extremist or intolerant, or amplifying misconceptions and hindering genuine intercultural understanding. And addressing these complex challenges requires comprehensive solutions. So education, maybe enhanced media literacy, can significantly maybe mitigate AI-driven Islamophobia. And equipping users with, let's say, critical analytical skills to distinguish reliable information from misinformation reduces their susceptibility to biased algorithmic content. Recently, our team at A-News conducted a Vox Populi in Yerevan. And for nearly an hour, we listened not to experts, not to politicians, but, let's say, to the unfiltered voices of ordinary people. Many spoke in sorrow, others maybe in anger. For example, one woman said, "They are not real Muslims because true Muslims don't destroy churches or graves." So, is it offensive? Yes. Is it fair? No. Is it real? Absolutely not. But is it the consequence of misinformation? Definitely yes. On November 10th, 2020, the Armenian news site Armen Press accused Azerbaijani forces of intentionally desecrating Kazan Chechos Cathedral in Shusha. Manipulated images accompanying these allegations rapidly spread online. However, independent investigations, including by Bellingcat, swiftly debunked these claims using clear satellite imagery, exposing them as deliberate misinformation. In this Vox Popular, another person said, "We are Christians, and if they get to us today, they'll get to you too." Unfortunately, this demonstrates the weaponization of religion as a shield against reality, maybe turning geopolitical issues or disputes into theological divisions. And I think if we do not deconstruct artificial intolerance now, we will soon face intolerant intelligence. I mean, amplified by deepfakes, maybe bots, or digital manipulation. And today, let's commit, maybe in words and also in actions, to robust AI literacy programs, international cooperation on digital regulation, and active promotion of interfaith dialogue. So the definition of the word of Islam, I mean peace, is not a policy, it's our daily practice. Thank you very much. Shukran jazilan.
Thank you, Mr. Hamzaev, for this very insightful presentation. I like the fact that you presented real challenges that are faced by modern newsrooms, which are very fast-paced, and sometimes there are dilemmas to have, and I like also that you are solution-oriented, so thank you for sharing those. I hope it will benefit the discussion. And now I would like to call Mr. Mohammed Mukhtar Khalil, the director of the Al Jazeera Center for Studies, and he will discuss Islamophobia and artificial intelligence, recipient awareness, and machine ideologization. The floor is yours.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. كنت أعددت عرضا لكن بما
I prepared a presentation, but I see that because we have well, a handful of people who present in terms of slides, I will be speaking briefly then without the deck. Now, first of all, I would like to thank the organizing committee for this event, for inviting me, and I think to everyone else who has been a part of this journey with us. And now, when we speak about this topic, I would like to first of all point out that we need to touch upon that from different perspectives. We point out the word Islamophobia. When we look at the terminology here, it's like there is something to be fearful of Islam, and this phobia in Arabic language means fear and scary situation, a fear, maybe a fear of a certain disease. And Abdul Hakim from Cambridge, the scientist, the scholar, used another word, and al-Khabiyya. Al-Khabiyya, as you know, the Prophet Muhammad was an uncle of the Prophet, peace be upon him. And today's we see here as international, we see the age that we live in is considered a global and technological age, and also in the area of technology we see a lot of progress, and it would be good to look at all the advancement, and we see unfortunately many negative consequences that are coming with it. And in terms of Islamophobia, we see here the power of AI that we again need to leverage, but at the same time it's again being misused and leveraged for malign intentions. I believe that these aspects, when we look at the AI, they serve certain purposes. Now, when we see here the AI is being fed with certain data, and the training kind of sessions are being done and provided for the AI, and we see here the based on certain reasons, we need to discuss it properly, and to make sure that the technologies are being used not to spread hostility but to calm it down and to remove that. We also see in many cases where there's certain fear that kind of being disseminated over and over again in the Western communities, and since 2015 most of the US and American citizens are not respecting the Muslim communities, and the after 9/11 the hatred towards Muslim has grown, and the number of crimes has also increased. In 2000s this number was low. American policy in that regard, it led to cancellation of multiple visas, and that was also some biased approach towards Muslim. And we see here an institutional way of experiencing that. We see also the Islamophobic sentiment, hostility towards Islam, and as we see that, and this all I believe that the AI is a biased system, and they take this information, and based on this data that is available, mm, the AI needs to be fed and supplied with data that would not be conducive to it acting in a biased way. Um, and we see the other approaches, for example, mention that they, for example, the Muslims throw a grenade or did something other, some wrongful act, and it is being spread. And when you look at the ChatGPT and others, the world Muslim is allocated with terror, but when you look at the Christian and or Jewish communities, they are being less referenced to the words such as hostility or aggression or terror. And this is, we believe that this is being done on purpose. But we also need to look in that we don't see the same approach to other religions when it happens. And also before the elections, also before the other campaigns we see here, when the other organizations are being created, we see again another smear campaigns against Muslims, and we need to start fighting against that, and we need to increase the awareness and reach the, again, capacity building of our communities to be able to look at the strategy and this approach. Now, before everything, we need to uh, collect more information and be in control. Also, these the digital technologies need to be used, and they, on the short term, long term, and mid-term perspective, the stereotypes need to be reduced. I think the researchers mentioned that all of it they create this specifically again the hostility and the stereotypes about against the woman in hijab in Wales, and the use of AI in India, for example, has led to increase of these stereotyping against Muslims. This is, I think, one of these examples of the aspects. And also in MIT University, one of the students who was subject to attack, and just because she was a black woman, and that leads to also another aspect of discrimination based on ethnicity. When you look at the AI and the information available there. We need to try to apply this to work on this based on the practice, and the biased approach of AI is evident, and we need to make sure that we can disseminate unbiased data. Even though this all are the difficult, we have opportunities with that. And in the first place, the opportunities, the huge opportunities that is available through AI. We need to partner together, as well as reduce and try to raise awareness about the vices of discrimination. And first of all, in the databases, we need to apply the high standards, as well as work on the education programs. All of these again will be yet another leverage and a tool to use against Islamophobia. The tools related to AI can be helpful, but also used as a threat and a danger against our communities. I would like to conclude with a word of thanks to the organizers. Once again, thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Mohammed Mukhtar Al-Khalil. This was very interesting. Now, one aspect that was extremely informative for me is the fact that you tackled the ideologization part of the AI. Many people think that by dealing with artificial intelligence, there is no human feelings or human bias, but the fact is this artificial intelligence has been programmed by humans, and a lot of these biases have been transmitted, and a lot of the content of the internet has been siphoned by these algorithms. And one example that Mr. Al-Khalil gave is ChatGPT 3. There were many studies about it, and one discovered that 60% of the content associated with the word Muslim associates or connects Muslim to violence, unlike what's happened with other religions. So let's internalize this information. Maybe we can ask about it later. Thank you again, Mr. Al-Khalil. And I will now give the floor to Mr. Jean-Michel Brun, founder and editor-in-chief of Musulmans en France.
Hi. First, I would like to apologize in advance for my so Frenchy English. Dear friends, dear partners in the fight against Islamophobia, good afternoon. And of course, a heartfelt thanks to the Baku International Multiculturalism Center and my friend Ravan Husseinov for once again hosting this forum. But let's, as you may know, France today holds a prominent place in the Islamophobic sphere. Considered by several NGOs as one of the most racist nations in the world, the country exerts a harmful influence, a sort of contagion of Islamophobic perversity. This Islamophobia manifests itself clearly in domestic politics by stigmatizing French citizens who are Muslims or presumed to be. It also shows up in foreign policy by fostering conflict with Muslim-majority countries such as Turkey, Algeria, and of course, Azerbaijan. Islamophobic rhetoric spreads and becomes normalized mainly through the media and social networks, whose algorithms feed and amplify the climate of hate. This, in turn, reinforced by politicians who, in a vicious cycle, seek to align themselves with public opinion, an opinion they perceive as general because it is precisely the one reflected by social media. A recent parliamentary report highlights that a real securitarian, secularist prism dominates media coverage, presenting Islam primarily as a threat. For instance, the news channel CNews displayed headlines related to immigration or Islam on 335 out of 365 days in 2023. This near-daily coverage contributes to a normalized ambient Islamophobia. Here in Baku, we know all too well how the liberation of Karabakh was portrayed in the French media as the aggression of a Muslim country against a Christian land. The most sophisticated form of racism is to deny racism itself. In France, the word Islamophobia is rejected by the majority of politicians. During the recent murder of a young worshipper in his mosque, brutally stabbed by a fanatic simply because he was a Muslim, the ministers of Justice and Interiors refused to call this murder as Islamophobic racist crime. It's not for them a racist crime, it's just a news item. Worse, simply uttering the word Islamophobia can lead you to prosecution for glorifying terrorism. A lie is repeatedly spread that Islamophobia is a term invented to suppress all criticism of religion. That is false, of course. The word simply refers to a systematic hostility toward Islam or Muslims. And this hostility has become a major issue in France. Analyses show that the press and certain TV channels focus on the so-called compatibility between Islam and France, questioning Muslims' ability to integrate. They perpetuate a triple conflation. Immigration equals terrorism. Muslims equals terrorism. Humanitarian NGOs equal accomplices of terrorism, and defending Muslims equal glorifying terrorism. Being Muslims mean being suspected. One of the manifestations of this institutional Islamophobia is the underrepresentation of Muslims or minorities in newsroom or on-screen shows. News programs and debates talk about Islam, but very rarely with Muslim voices. TV channels prefer to invite outsiders to Islam, openly Islamophobic voice, instead of real scholars, academics, or experts who could present an humanist, unbiased image of Islam that aligns with Republican values. But of course, this would go against the message institutional Islamophobia seeks to spread. Another tactic used by the French media to deflect accusation of underrepresentation of racialized individuals is to promote certain Arab origin figures who, for their own reason, echo the Islamophobic rhetoric of the far right, like the so-called Imam of Drancy, Hassan Chargoumi. In truth, the French media owners who openly display their Islamophobic views need such figures to say things that, if uttered by ethnic Frenchmen would immediately be deemed racist. But, my friends,
One minute left.
let's be honest. We know all this for a long time. I've just dedicated several pages in my online magazine about media and Islamophobia and AI and Islamophobia. We know that. Of course, the French citizens who make up the silent majority, who are unheard in mainstream media and still uphold our national motto of liberty, equality, fraternity, can welcome this kind of forum like today. But, what's the point of repeating the same observation year after year since colonial nostalgists came to power in France? Every year, we say the same things and nothing changes. So, my dear friends, let me say this. It's time to stop talking and start finding solutions. Muslims make up the fifth of the French population, and they are powerless to defend themselves because they are alone. The Jewish community, though far smaller in number, benefits from worldwide solidarity. The Armenian community, even smaller, enjoys strong international support from its diaspora. And French Muslims, who supports French Muslims? Nobody. The oil-rich Arab countries mostly ignore them or offer only speeches, and speeches cost nothing for them. So, it's not difficult. We need media. We need documentaries and publication that reflects what Islam and Muslim really are. We need this material that offer a counterpoint to anti-Muslim propaganda. We need books that remind how Arab civilization contribute to Europe, at least much than Rome or Athens. This truth has been erased from our history books since the colonial era. We have the thinker, academics, journalists, filmmakers, and authors who are able to do these things. They do, but with their very few light own means.
Mr. Brun, it's time to wrap.
Just 5 minutes, because it is important. All the French media belong to far-right billionaires. So, to combat them, we need means. I mean, we need financial means. We need to pay journalists. We need to write books. We need to make documentaries. So, please, all the representatives of different countries here, open your purses. We need money for that. So, help us to restore pride to Muslims. Help give them the place they deserve in our society. Thank you for your attention or your future generosity.
Thank you, Jean-Michel, for this very insightful, little bit of drama at the end, but I guess the subject is worth it. So this was a plea from the heart to ask for support. I mean, the situation in France and in some other European countries is very bad in terms of Islamophobia. The levels are so high. I think Jean-Michel Brun explained that in the beginning of his intervention. But he's also solution-oriented. He says enough is enough about talking about the problem, and let's depart the situation of being problem-oriented and become more into solution-oriented. So I will take a couple of questions from the floor. Who wants to? You? No, she can give the mic for those who want. Is there any question from the floor? Yes, there is one over there, please. Please state your name and affiliation and to whom the question is directed. You can come in the front and maybe... And please, no intervention, just questions.
Am I free to ask a question or not? Because you
Yes,
are not
please
allowing
ask
me-
question and just state who you are, which affiliation, which institution, and to whom you want the question to be addressed.
So, Assalamu alaikum. My name is Ayel Ahmed from CPI Geneva in Switzerland. I have two questions, if you allowed me. First question for Ms. Al-Kaabi. Shall I ask you in Arabic so you can understand the dialect?
Yes, go ahead in Arabic.
سيد الكعبي بارك الله بيك على الطرح اللي طرحتيه، لكن سؤالي إلك ما تكلمت عن الدور اللي إحنا.
Now you spoke about the role. You didn't speak about the role about. You see, you didn't speak about the role. Can I? Two questions. Yes, but I didn't understand the first question fully.
Behave through the social media, which allowed others to attack us. Our bad reactions. I wish, because I really liked what she said, Ms. Kabi. I wish she speak about this issue also. We are also guilty. The second question is thanks a lot for Azerbaijan. Thanks a lot for all those people who arranged this great conference. I mean, we are working a lot. Everybody working a lot. Who are really indirect suffering are the people who are working in European countries. I was speaking with the people from SSCO, for example. I mean, we have to work on all level, politician level, in all level, economy, AI, etc. But we are very weak in working direct with people who are there in Western country to defend the Islam and to stop this Islamophobia.
لنقيم de ce type.
Islamophobia, it's anti-Muslim war. It's a fact. In European country, they don't say Judaism phobia. They say anti-Semitism. So why we use this very nice term? Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. First question to you.
تمام. شكرا بداية على السؤال، ويمكن الطرح اللي عنيت فيه فقط ب.
When we speak about Islamophobia, and again in digital domain, we speak about the AI, we speak about other aspects, and we need to strengthen our efforts, and we need to bring here the experts to the board. Now we speak about cultural diversity and religious diversity. We need to, spread the other good impression about Islam again through AI platforms, and all of this penetrate the continents and the countries, and there are many other ideas that are spread around that. And when I spoke about some of the things, we need to bring on board some experts, and through doing that we would be able to spread a better impression of Islam around the world.
Lebrun, Mr. Lebrun, he was asking about what could be done. I mean, you were talking about some action-oriented things that could be done to stop Islamophobia, or at least assuage some of its impact. So he was talking about the political level. What can you say about dealing with the political level?
You mean what concrete actions?
Like he was mentioning that in European countries, the situation is very dire for Muslims, and they are facing a lot of xenophobia, a lot of acts of racism, etc. So, what needs to be done politically, media-wise?
What are the solutions? I talk about France. Because France is the biggest Muslim country in Europe. 1/5 of the French population is Muslims in France. Okay, and France is a leading country on Islamophobia. It's why it's very important to do something with France. And what to do? We need. You have a lot of mainstream media, a lot of social medias who spread Islamophobic news. We have to have our own media. But the Muslim community in France is a poor community, you know, because they are the son or the grandson of immigrants, you know. So it's why we need some help, some investment, in fact, in creating newspaper, creating community management, organizing a conference, exchange between students, French students and Arab country students, and so on. And for this, we need really some investment. You know that France, it's important that France is not only France. The Francophonie represent 309 million people in the world. And a survey of the Natixis Bank say that French will be in 2050 the second or the third language in the world. So it's very important to invest in France.
Thank you for this insight. So we have two gentlemen here, if you can.
I respectfully want to, take my turn because I was the first one.
Yes, you want to ask a question. Sorry. Yes, go ahead.
Thank you so much. Ayten Shakirova from the A News TV. I only have one question, and thanks to all the panelists for all the details.
Please choose one because it's going to be difficult to...
Yes, I'm aware of that. Thank you. In a media landscape driven by clicks and sensationalism, how can we hold journalists, editors, and platforms accountable for narratives that fuel religious discrimination, in particular Islamophobia? My question is to the all panelists.
Okay, so I will direct it to Mr. Rufat. This is yours.
I do not know how it will be humble to answer to the our distinguished, let's say, member of our team. But let's try. I will be very brief. Actually, if we talk about the journalist ethics and also AI-driven, let's say, editorial choices. So I think that editorial mistakes, if you talk about the deliberately, how to say, chosen editorial things, this is the kind of, let's say, how to say, picture of the Islamophobia media outlet. But what defines fake news or Islamophobic, let's say, sentiments or other things, I think their repetition and to do it purposefully and intentionally. So we need to be distanced with manipulated, how to say, editorial things, and also I think at I can go throughout, let's say, our practice at A News. At A News, we actually use at least 3 layers of filters. So human being, digital, and also AI tools as well. So I think AI tools can also help us to define and also to detect Islamophobic sentiments, and also to not to weaponize this kind of things. Thank you.
Thank you for this comprehensive answer. And the gentleman in the front, please, and then the one behind.
I am Jawad Kartoudi, president of Moroccan Institute of International Relations. My question is for Mr. Jean-Michel Brun. In France, I think all parties are not for Islamophobia, as the party La France Insoumise, French not submitted. Is it the only example which confirms the rule? Thank you.
This is interesting. You're right, there is only one political party in France who fight against really Islamophobia. It's La France Insoumise. It's a left-wing party. And you know that all the attacks of the government, but unfortunately also at some Jewish organizations, they think that our enemy are La France Insoumise and not the far right party. It's a big mistake, because La France Insoumise is not anti-Semitic at all. Nobody has been condemned for that. But the extreme right party like Rassemblement National, I don't know in English, all the leaders has been condemned for anti-Semitism. I think anti-Semitism and Islamophobia is exactly the same thing. The words are just different, the target is different, but the system is exactly the same. It's why it is important to understand that the media is a field of war, and we have to consider the media as in military terms. It is a war. So it's important to what do you do when you are in war with another country? You make some scouting, you furbish weapons, you have a strategy, and we must have all this to fight Islamophobia, but not only Islamophobia. Because in France, the Muslims are targeted, the Jewish are targeted, the Christians are targeted. Why? Because we have in France a very special idea of secularism. The French idea of secularism is to put all spirituality out of the society. This is the main problem. And, you know, for instance, what we say is when the Muslims or the Jewish or the Christians are just between themselves, it is separatism. When they want to integrate the society, it is altruism. So they are always wrong. And the idea is to push all the religion out of the society. Why? Because we don't need people who think. We need good consumers. This is the main problem. We need consumers. So the religion is, in fact, against this society of you know,
consumption.
Consumption. This is the real problem. It's why we really need to understand that this media system is a war.
Yeah, thank you for highlighting. I mean, I'm sure Jean-Michel Brun is using metaphors because, I mean, we're talking about battle of narratives. And to be in this battle of narratives, you need to be equipped for it, you need to understand it, you need to have people capable of carrying the other narrative. So thank you for highlighting this. The next question is to the gentleman. Please introduce yourself.
Sure. Selamun Aleyküm. It's Professor Sayın Işıksal from Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus. Currently, I'm acting as the special advisor of the TRNC president on international relations and diplomacy. My question could be answered either Mr. Mohammed, either by Mohammed El Yami or Mr. Mohammed El Khalil. I believe that in order to tackle Islamophobia, we shouldn't be selective on our issues or we shouldn't be interest-oriented. We have to be acted as one, as the Muslim countries. Driving from this point, unfortunately, when it's come to case of the Turkish Cypriots, we don't see any support, especially from the Arab world and some of the Muslim countries. At the moment, still the Turkish Cypriots are under the inhuman isolations in terms of trade, sport activities, all kind of cultural activities that doesn't belong to DNH. So I just want to ask your comments, why as a Muslim people, as a Muslim country, and we are very rightful on our arguments, why you think that we didn't get the support that we deserve, especially from the Arab world? Thank you.
So this question is for Mr. Mohammed Mukhtar Al-Khalil. Just to repeat a little bit, there is a bit of blame from our brethren in Northern Cyprus, the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus, which unfortunately is not receiving enough recognition from different countries around the world. And he's asking, since Islamophobia and since we are all Muslims, why we don't care about each other, about concerns of each other. It's a bit political, so...
The question is for me? Oh, no, yes. For you.
اوكي شكرا جزيلا على السؤال. انا فضلت ان
Thank you very much. I think that I am not well expert in this field. I don't think that I would be able to answer this question properly. But to our brother, I would say that when we see here, whether it's Cyprus, whether it is Gaza, with Myanmar or other places, we call it political damage, and they are subject to this political violence, and I think this is a general description of this. And of course, when we speak about coming back to the AI, I believe that the AI as an app again is fed with certain data. It becomes a certain model, but when it comes to the political stance and the media perspective, I believe that, well, it's not very much intertwined, but I think it's about the media coverage of this particular aspect, and we need to speak about it. And as it is also mentioned in other cases, it's something that is a general, I think, for many nations, whether it is Northern Cyprus, I think it's a general issue for many nations.
Final question, so we have the gentleman, and then at the very end.
Yeah, thank you. Mohammed Al-Salami from Saudi Arabia. We are not ideal societies. My question is actually to Mrs. Iman Al-Ka'bi. We have what I can call Islamophobia from within. How can we say that? It's when we on social media platforms react in a negative way to Islamophobia, we are contributing in this enmity against Islam. So what we can do as with our entities or institutions to spread awareness among our youth not to go in that direction, and then the ball becomes bigger. Shall I say it in Arabic? طيب شكرا. أنا أقول إنه نحن لسنا مجتمعات مثالية. صحيح. وهناك ما أسميه معاداة الإسلام.
Yeah, we see it's a basically repetition of the question. We see here some hostility, and also in the social media and the platforms. There is aggressions, there's hostility against Islam and the youth. We see here they when they react, they actually go and further exacerbate this hostility, and we kind of support this in a way. We see here the other aspects and their role. What is their role is comprised of? Then when we speak about the Muslims and their use should not go in into that direction, and they need to have this religious education, not to be again used and abused. And when we speak about the other aspects, and we need to, what do we need to what do we need to do to protect our youth against these vices? I would like to ask a question to the again to share experience from Qatar. We are dealing with this for quite a while. We're working on the integration, again, the education training programs, and so on, and also the Islamic values, and we divided you into nations so you would know each other, as Allah says in the Quranic verse. And the most pious is the one who fears the most, is the most pious. So when we see the application of the Islamic values, we try to accomplish that. And again, in Qatar, there is experience about the moral values, and also about how to deal with others, compassion and love. And to establish these aspects, we need to call this all the people upon that. And I think the Quran teaches us in that respect how to behave, and it's also in the narrations from our Prophet, peace be upon him. It educates us, it develops us, and also in terms of the respectful, interaction and communication with other religions in the Middle East. There are Torah, there are other followers of other religions, and how we can treat them. As we can say about other experiences, and I think the Middle East and the Gulf experience, I think, has been quite successful in nature in terms of building this social cohesion.
Monsieur Lebrun, je voulais vous poser une petite question en français, ça vous dérange pas?
Can you raise your voice? Pouvez-vous élever votre voix?
Oui, j'ai la voix cassée, je suis un peu malade. Donc, j'ai une petite question à Monsieur Jean-Michel Brun.
I have a question for Jean-Michel. Thank you for the initiative in the first place. I have a quick question, sir. Don't you consider that whatever is happening in France is not structured very well, and they were not organized? Since you asked a question in French, yes, I agree that I think our enemy is a divided Muslim community in France, and this is they kind of go and recycle this hatred once again. The Tunisian and Moroccans sometimes fight each other, and in that respect, I think you are right. But at the same time, the Muslim communities, it's a young community, and they need to have education, and they need, again, newspapers, books. You need to build schools. You need to publish, materials for them. As you can see here, the French government kind of is attacking now. Is attacking the Muslim schools. And there was one report prepared by the government, and in regards to extremism committed by the French nationals of Muslim origin. And as of tomorrow, let's say this, we see here this negative approach and the adverse impact. All of this, financing and everything is being stopped just because of the Muslim element. and in which they need to be structured, they need to organize themselves. And again, as I said earlier, I again would like to thank. I have a journal, a magazine in France, but I don't receive any financial support, and they try to present my activity as a provocation, and this is done at my cost. And the French community Muslim community is basically isolated virtually, and there are and from they need to want to support us, and we need the support by all means.
جزيلا لو تسمحوا لي بطرح السؤال باللغة العربية. من بعض المتدخلين.
I would like to ask a question in Arabic. We have heard these comments, and we have heard about this platform, and there were other aspects mentioned. It's like it was a gesture, basically saying that that the Muslims and it's like the Muslims themselves have to be condemned or criticized because of that. I would like to just to point out that this is not accurate information. We see here other aspects. We see here the research from different parts of the world where the Muslims, the youth, and also even they participate in they also integrate in these democratic societies in other countries. The other research demonstrate that the Muslim are, to what extent they are engaged, and the problem is in the media, and some of the political as people, the politicians, they shape this erroneous understanding about Muslims, and every time they share these erroneous ideas, misconceptions, and as you can see also here in Hamburg, this is again, there was a woman in a Hamburg train station where she was killed by the German nationals. You see here the claims, the refugees. It's actually there was otherwise, and it was pointed out later on, found out that this criminal, this woman who was committed the crime, she was not even a Muslim. She has nothing to do with this religion. And one of the refugees from Syria, they tried to intervene to stop this crime from being committed, and what happened is that this crime was stopped. So it is not, we don't need to fall into the trap and not to articulate whatever this idea is voiced by the media that it was the case. And those who are responsible for Islamophobia, these are the fascist parties and this movement, and we cannot, let's say, be held accountable, the Muslims, for these things that they have not committed, obviously.
Was saying that the Muslims in the West, a lot of the youth are doing a lot of efforts to be integrated in their societies, but the media bias and the way how they are perceived in the media, the way how they are being demonized is creating this perception. So he just wanted to put his reprobation that we shouldn't be blaming the victims, but rather be blaming the perpetrators and the culprits. So it's a wrap for our session today. But before giving a round of applause, I want just to let you know that there will be a dinner for the participants tonight. So please, at 6:30, gather at the lobby of the hotel, and the dress code